You just state your name for the record and that you live in Monroeville.
Did you sign it?
And yes, if you could sign it,
Sign
please.
It's hanging.
Council, I'd like to follow up on what...
State your name for the record,
State
sir.
your name.
I sure will. Alyssa's comments were, my name is Chuck Yaskanich, and I'm in Ward 2 on Trotwood Drive, and I'm a neighbor of Alyssa's. And I would like to effectively reinforce what she had said and applaud her and applaud Tom Wilson for his motion. I'm here to voice my dissatisfaction with the seismic testing contractor, Geotechnics, hired by Huntley & Huntley. And I recognize that council is under the influence of Mr. Watcher there, has given permission for the drilling of the property, and I accept that. I'm not happy with it. I think most of Monroeville is very unhappy with it. I think the move by council is extremely unpopular, but I think we have to live with it. Be that as what it may, I'm here today to express my views on Geotechnics and Huntley and Huntley, and I feel that they have violated my property rights. I will ask at the conclusion of my remarks that council take corrective action, which I think you have already taken. It was on Monday, May the 27th, which my neighbor noticed 5 or 6 of these devices that were embedded in the ground. I'm sorry, on March 27th, which were embedded in the ground, and we call it the right-of-way, or an easement, or just plainly the grass strip. These things were buried so that you could see the surface of them. It was kind of ominous because there was a blinking light on it. And for those of you that are in the military, there were 8 brass dots on top. And the brass dots were about this caliber of a .22 rimfire. So those that are suspicious even look worse at it, that what is this thing? Imagine finding a device like this buried with a blinking red diode in your lawn, and what are you going to do? Particularly today in this nefarious world that we're in, all kinds of things happen. Pipe bombs appear, this appears, and that appears. This is right outside of our door, gentlemen. And again, what would you do? We, the neighbors, were legally required to be notified. We were not. And I will support Alyssa and everything she had said, that I have polled virtually. There's 24 neighbors on that street. So out of the 24, perhaps the top 2 were notified, the others were not. There were no door hangers, there were no garage hangers, there was nothing. Some people say they were blown away. They were not blown away. 22 of these don't get blown away. There was no notification as legally required, and if you insisted it be 30 days more, it was even worse than that. You could argue that Geokinetics, the contractor, was responsible, but ultimately, those, particularly you in the legal business, know that Huntley & Huntley is responsible. Take some of the legal litigation on asbestos. If I have somebody remove asbestos from my property, I'm responsible for that until it hits the garbage dump somewhere. If they put it in the wrong place, it's my responsibility. How can Huntley & Huntley back away from this? Next issue. There's a Pennsylvania law, Act number 50, known as the one-call law, that a contractor must do prior to digging. And it's even if they dig 6 inches beneath the ground, they have to do the one call. Part of the one call is that people come in and they stripe your grass or your lawn with color coding indicating what utility work. There is no striping. There's none. They weren't there. They didn't do the one call. Now, maybe a little bit litigious, the piece I'm bringing up, but nevertheless, I think it shows the unethical behavior that we're faced with these people from Geotechnics. But here again, Geotechnics, Geokinetics, and ultimately Huntley & Huntley violated the law. The next issue, and this is one for interpretation, But in this piece of grass strip where these geophones were buried is for the purpose of public utilities and not a private utility that's in business for profit. And so here comes geotechnics in, burying stuff in a strip that they have no right to do. The interpretation of the law means that this property owner has superior right of the possession and use of this except for the intended entity. And that entity is the utilities and not you. They have no right to be in there unless they have our permission to do so. Again, you have them ignoring the law. So this is 2 law violations. Next issue. Not only geotechnics and H&H ignore their responsibilities in my neighborhood, but also in Ms. Gaddis's neighborhood, okay? I've received notice that geotechnics roughshotted their way through through her word on Kilbuck Drive. They did exactly the same thing in there, no notification either. In summary, geotechnics and H&H have not provided me and my, say, 22 other neighbors with legal notification. They did not meet PA Act 50 legal requirements of 1 call, and they did not get property owners' permission to use the easement before they did. What I'd like to request is the following. Immediately stop all future work by geotechnics and H&H until these issues have been resolved. Thank you, Council, for doing that. Secondly, survey the wards and neighborhood just to sense how far this, whatever you call it, these lack of ethics have processed through our community, so we get an idea of what's really going on. And I'd like to ask that those geophones removed from our easement immediately. In conclusion, to me, right now, this is a property rights issue. It's not a fracking issue. It's not a drilling issue. That's gone. This is a property issue. My issue is that geokinetics and ultimately H&H have not met their requirements to work in Monroeville as prescribed by the law, the code, ordinances, or even common respect for our property owners. I would like them to stop doing this immediately. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Can I please ask a question? Mr. Yugis, did they not tell us that they would be taking care of the PA 1 call when they were here before us?
I don't recollect.
Yes, they did, Linda.
I thought I
I'm gonna
remembered
say
them
for the
talking
record,
about that.
I called them. I called People's Gas.
Ms. Woodall,
I want to come up and say something.
you've had your 5
Okay,
minutes.
I called 811, and 811 told me they had no notification.
Okay, I just think,
And that's on record.
I thought I remembered the gentleman that was sitting here in the front row, I don't mean to point at you, sir, sitting here in the front row telling us that they would contact
Exactly.
for the underground prior to doing the testing. And if they're not doing that as well, that needs to also be put in the stop, that we need evidence that they have taken care of that.
That should be part of the stop.
I'm asking if
That
that
should be
can
part of the
also be
stop
added
work
into
order,
it. That
certainly.
we,
State law.
yeah, that we get to see that they have made those phone calls.
Linda,
So.
Very good.
My conversation with.
Folks, we're gonna keep going with this.